I still remember that day in court like it happened yesterday. The air was tense, the room quiet, except for the occasional shuffle of papers or the squeak of a chair. I was there to observe, as I often did, taking notes for my ongoing legal studies. My father, Judge Leonard Bryant, was presiding. A man known for his fairness and unwavering commitment to justice. I'd grown up in courtrooms like this one, watching my father work. He always told me, the law isn't just rules on paper. It's about people, dignity, and doing what's right. His words had shaped my decision to follow in his footsteps, though I had never imagined the lesson I'd learn that day. The case involved a property dispute, not exactly headline news, but important to the people involved. The plaintiff was an older black man named Mr. Harris, who claimed his longtime landlord was trying to evict him illegally. Representing him was my friend and mentor, Olivia Thomas, a young black attorney who had recently made partner at her firm. Olivia was sharp, confident, and dedicated to her clients, a force to be reckoned with in the courtroom. The defendant's lawyer was a man named Gregory Sterling. He was everything Olivia wasn't: smug, dismissive, and, as I would soon find out, deeply prejudiced. Sterling was the kind of lawyer who believed his wealth and connections made him untouchable, the kind who barely glanced at his opponents, unless it was to sneer. The proceedings began uneventfully. Olivia presented her arguments with her usual precision, outlining Mr. Harris's case and providing evidence that the eviction notice violated state housing laws. She spoke with passion and clarity, her voice steady and sure. Sterling, on the other hand, lounged in his chair, barely paying attention until it was his turn to speak. When he finally stood, I could feel the arrogance radiating off him. He smirked as he approached the bench, glancing at Olivia like she was an annoying insect he needed to swat away. "Your Honor," he began, his tone dripping with condescension, "this case is a waste of the court's time. My client has every right to manage his property as he sees fit. The plaintiff is simply trying to take advantage of the system." Olivia remained calm, watching him with a quiet intensity. She'd dealt with men like Sterling before, and I could see she wasn't rattled. But then he said something that made the entire courtroom freeze. "With all due respect, Your Honor," what Sterling said, turning to glance at Olivia, "it's clear that my opponent here is inexperienced and out of her depth. Perhaps if she spent less time playing the victim and more time understanding the law, we wouldn't be here." The words hung in the air like a bad smell. Olivia's jaw tightened, but she didn't respond, her professionalism unshaken. My father, however, leaned forward slightly, his sharp gaze fixed on Sterling. "Mr. Sterling," he said, his voice measured but firm, "I suggest you focus on the facts of your case and refrain from personal attacks." Sterling smirked, clearly not taking the warning seriously. "Of course, Your Honor," he said, though his tone made it clear he wasn't sorry. He continued his argument, but I barely heard it. My mind was stuck on his earlier comment. When the court recessed for lunch, I found Olivia in the hallway. She was reviewing her notes, her expression calm but her hands slightly tense. "Olivia," I said softly, approaching her, "are you okay?" She looked up and gave me a small smile. "I'm fine, Rachel. You know how it is, some people can't handle being challenged." I nodded, my admiration for her growing. Olivia had always been like a sister to me, someone who inspired me with her strength and grace. "He's a jerk," I muttered, glancing toward the courtroom doors. "That he is," she agreed, chuckling. "But jerks don't win cases, facts do. And I've got the facts." Her confidence was contagious, and I felt a surge of pride for her. Still, I couldn't shake the anger simmering inside me. Sterling had crossed a line, and he had no idea just how deep the hole he was digging really was. When court resumed, Sterling's arrogance was on full display. He interrupted Olivia several times, rolled his eyes during her cross-examination, and even laughed quietly at one point. My father let it slide at first, but I could tell he was keeping score, filing away every disrespectful moment for later. The turning point came during Olivia's closing argument. She spoke with passion, laying out her case clearly and concisely. She highlighted the laws that supported Mr. Harris's claim and pointed out the inconsistencies in the landlord's defense. By the time she finished, even the spectators in the courtroom seemed convinced. Sterling, however, couldn't resist getting in one last jab. "Your Honor," he said as he rose for his rebuttal, While I applaud Miss Thomas's effort, it's clear she's outmatched here. This is a simple case of someone trying to game the system, and no amount of theatrics can change that. It was the word theatrics that did it. My father's face remained calm, but I could see the steely resolve in his eyes as he looked at Sterling. "Mr. Sterling," he said, his voice as sharp as a knife, "approach the bench." Sterling hesitated, clearly taken aback by the tone. He walked forward, his smirk finally fading. "Do you know who Miss Thomas is?" my father asked, his voice low but firm. Sterling blinked, confused. "She's opposing counsel, Your Honor." "And do you know who I am?" my father continued, his gaze unrelenting. "Of course, Your Honor. You're Judge Bryant," Sterling replied, still not understanding. My father leaned slightly forward. "And Miss Thomas is my daughter." The room went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Sterling's face went pale, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. He stammered, I didn't realize." "No, you didn't," my father interrupted, his tone icy. "And that's the problem. You've spent this entire case disrespecting not just opposing counsel, but the court itself. Your behavior has been unprofessional, and it will not be tolerated." Sterling looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. My father's gaze swept across the courtroom, addressing everyone now. "This court is a place of justice, not arrogance. Every person here deserves respect, regardless of their role or background. Let today be a reminder that decorum and dignity are not optional, they are required." The case concluded shortly after, with the ruling in Mr. Harris's favor. Sterling left the courtroom in a hurry, his bravado replaced by humiliation. Olivia, meanwhile, remained composed, though I could see the pride in her eyes as she packed up her files. As we walked out together, I couldn't help but smile. "You were amazing in there," I told her. She laughed, shaking her head. "I just did my job. Your dad, though, he's something else." "He's a good man," I said, my heart swelling with gratitude. "And he's proud of you." We both were. That day taught me a lesson I'll never forget. Respect isn't just a courtesy, it's a reflection of who we are. Sterling had learned that the hard way. But for me, it was a reminder of the values my father had instilled in me from the start. It wasn't just about winning a case or making a point, it was about standing up for what's right, no matter the odds. Thank you for being part of this story. If it resonated with you or made you think, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up to support the channel and share it with others who might enjoy it. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more powerful and inspiring stories like this one. Let's keep the conversation going.